Welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to try something a little bit different. For my podcast and my YouTube video, I'm actually going to step through and use Notebook LM from scratch to make a series of resources. Now, I've mapped out what I want to do. I've got my iPad here on the side. I'm actually going to step through it, so don't mind if I actually spend a bit of time looking at that. Now, I'm going to do it live and work my way through it with all errors and bugs and things that go through it, because I think that's what real teachers actually go through when they're actually experiencing this. And as a result of that, I will chop it when I'm waiting for things to actually happen and process in the background on Notebook LM, so we don't want to have a really long episode. Honestly, I don't know how long it's going to be. The resource I'm going to do is a resource, which I've got this PDF here, which has got all this information about Hitler, his rise to power, and how they took control. So I'm actually going to copy and paste this text into Notebook LM. So here we go, Notebook LM. I'm going to new script here goes, I'll call it Hitler resource. And I'll start by adding some source. So different sources you can put on there. I'm going to use the text-based one, the information I've already collated from my existing resources here, and see what I can actually make out of it. So I'm going to copy and paste all that text in there, which is really good. Got lots of information on Nazi Germany. I'm not going to go into specific details of what's in there, because obviously it's not of interest to history teachers themselves. And the reason I'm doing this is I'm going to look at, they've got all these new resources. Obviously I've talked about audio overview. There's a video overview, things like mind maps, reports, flashcards, slide deck, infographics, quizzes, and data table. These are all now available for them. But if you want to make a resource from scratch, what's it actually about? So I've added my resource in there. Now you can add more. You can add a substantial amount of different resources in videos, say YouTube, for example, additional PDF documents, historical sources. So you got a lot there. I'm just going to use what I've got because that's the text. This is where I'm actually starting with at this point. So what I've done here is I've actually got the prompts on another device, and I'm going to copy and paste them in there. So the first one, let's lift this up a bit. Draft up a 50-minute lesson sequence for this topic, learning intention test criteria, basically normal lessons that we actually do based upon that. So I'm just going to let this run in the background while I'm talking about. Let's see how quickly and easily this does this. So what do we got here? So we've got our learning intentions, sequence of things between January 33 and 34, transform Hitler from a chancellor to Führer. Retrieval start at 7 minutes. So it's got some retrieval activities there. We can obviously copy and paste that into the other resources if we need to. Explicit instructions going through, guided practice and so on. So that's fairly good. So what we want to do is add from this now is we'll get it for these questions to write 10 questions, 4 recall, 4 explanation, 2 evaluation. Each question, name the source that supports it. So wait for the copy and paste off my iPad. You think it'll be a little bit quicker between connectivity since we're both pretty much sitting next to one another. Okay, here are the questions. So write out 10 questions, 4 recall, 4 explanation, 2 evaluation. For each question, name the source that supports it. So we'll see what it develops as for us on this. And while we're doing that, we're going to create 3 versions of a summary. One for literacy. Okay, so we've got supported source here. Going through, if I click on that, it's got our sources, and it's actually pulling it out of our document, which is dot points. Normally, when you're doing this, you would normally use an external historical source for that, but like I said, we're not doing that at this point. So let's get it to now create. I've got students with different writing ability, and reading ability. So support, summary support, average and extension. Let's get the extension. Thinking keep me assistant. Code, vocabulary, bank, There we go. So it's actually going through now. I'll create 3 different summary versions for us to do that. So what's done here, let's go to vocabulary bank, level 1. So it's low literacy version. Like I said, it's referencing the notes that I've used, so I can double check that. That's really a handy feature. So you know what sources it's coming from. Level 2, average summary, and then we've got an extension summary as well from that. So based on this information, we ask it to create a study guide, the content, scan for missing essentials, such as key terms. Maybe I'm missing things in my notes, key dates, and so on. Fairly generic in there. So we'll get it to make us a study guide. Do that here. So it's creating a structured guide. So we have our study guide. We can then save to this. Can we export study to Git? Let us do that. I know I do this in ChatGPT all the time. Defining the objective, export formats. Obviously, when we're developing these resources, they're not finished products. No. Okay, I guess it wants me to copy and paste it out. So what I like about ChatGPT, my format, it'll actually export it and say a Word document for me for editing, which is nice. And it hasn't done it at this point. That's okay. We'll just move on from there. It's giving me some questions on there. So what we want to do now is actually choose the option up here. Let's look at the different ones. We want to create a quiz. Actually, we'll get it to do a mind map first. We won't do these in order. I click on mind map. And then we'll get it to a quiz. Now, when we click on these, we've got our customize point. So we'll customize, create a quiz with, how many questions do you reckon? 10 questions that are multiple choice with 4 answers, 1 being correct. So what options have we got here? Standard, default, difficult and medium, scaffold the questions, and difficulty. Difficulty. There we go. Generates that. So what I do like about Notebook LM is I've got one going here. We've got one going at the same time. We can ask it to make some flashcards. That's for the entire content of the main points. Make 20 total. Okay, we'll get that generate. So what is Notebook LM can do multiple things at once. And I do quite like that. ChatGPT, I get around that. I can have different windows open at the same time and do different things. Okay. There's our mind map. So that's pretty cool. Quite like that. This is quite good for contents. History is a lot of things related. I wonder if I could do content that would loop back in on itself. That would be interesting as well. So we see this is a tree-like mind map. And so it's fairly good. Now, what can I do with that? Can I export it? Yeah, I can download this. And what does it look like? Desktop. There we go. Mind map. I could work with that, then use it. Like I said, the layout, I'd have to try different, more complex concepts in the mind map. They might loop back into each other. I think that would be quite interesting to do as well. But people are looking at my podcast, all it's done is got top of the tree, then it breaks it down to early Nazi party, key Nazi beliefs, brown shirts, mini push, and under that mini push, this causes hyperinflation and miscellaneous cause. I click on that. That looks back at my notes. That's interesting. It's opening up my notes. Okay, that's quite interesting. That's cool. So for people on my podcast, you've got to remember that you are listening, that with the flashcards, I've clicked on those and I've customized it. So let's have a look at what the flashcards look at. I'm clicking them. Now I can't download them at this point. So I'm going to click on Nazi Germany flashcards, and it's on the right-hand window. It's opened up some answers for me. They do them just little text. Now what can I do? Thinking about them. Okay, we've got a download button here, download. Now it's to actually download them as a CSV folder. So from there where it's got, which is quite easy to use. So we could use these flashcards, make them, and then essentially import them into a flashcard online version as a CSV file and use them that way. Or you can use them directly within Notebook LM if it's your own account, if you're a student, for example. Okay, so that's what that one looks like. The quiz. Now I can rename the quiz. I can share the quiz. I can view custom prompts. So if I click on the quiz here, once again, it opens up a window with an app and gives me the multiple choice. What I want to do is primarily you want to be a professional artist. It tells me that's right. Name the organisation, join the essay, tell me it's not quite right. Gives me who they were and then the correct answer. So I do quite like that format. Now, this is good, but I can do show prompts. That's good to me. Now, in terms of the quiz, what can I do here? I can share it here, and that is pretty much sharing people within the Microsoft full groups. You know that you can give them, okay, let's try work anyone with the link. We'll do a welcome note. We'll go save. Do anyone with a link. Hit artifact. Can I open that link up? And what would actually happen? So this is an account that does not have a Notebook LM on it. And I can do the quiz. So yes, you can share it with people who do not have Notebook LM, but you must share it with people who've got a Google account. So if your school doesn't use Google, there's not much use for you there, is it? Anyway, but at least we can share it, which is actually a good indication. Now let's move on to the next one for the infographic. And I hope you're playing with these infographics, but if I want to make an infographic, once again, I click on the little pencil and make a customized landscape, standard things. So create student year 10 infographic, then understand this rise to from the notes. It's pretty simple. I run the generate. Once again, it's running in the background, so it's generating my infographic. And while I'm waiting for it to do this, I'm going to get it to do an audio overview. Now they've added some things that there's now the deep dive, which is good. We can make a brief, critique, and debate. I'm going to click on get to critique. I'm going to leave it stock standard to create a critique audio recording there. You'll see it comes in, like again. Now I'm generating the infographic, I'm generating the audio overview at the same time. I'm doing other things. Now let's click on video overview. Well, structure, I've got a choice here. We're doing it as an explainer or as brief. I'm going to do it as an explainer. I'll get it to auto select and I'll just hit generate. I won't do anything specific and we'll see what it actually comes up with based on that. And the last thing I'm going to look at here is we've done the quiz, the flashcards, and they're all generating here now, is the slide deck. So create introduction slide deck for this topic aimed at mixed ability year 10 students. And I actually got detailed deck or presenter slides. And I'll actually do presenter size, so like that. Details, comprehensive deck with full text, details, and perfect for emailing or reading on your own. Presenter slides, which is clean visual slides for key talking points to support you while you speak. So I'm going to key down students. So we're going to do it as an introduction. Okay, that's running in the background. The other thing you can do here, which I've been playing with, is actually creating graphic novels using the slide deck feature. So we've got our Hitler's Rise to Power. We've got our infographic here. Just click on this and see what it looks like. We can download these. I normally do. I usually download as a PNG file. So we've got a very basic, it covers all the main points, but it's not very visually appealing, is it? Now you can get into really detailed information here, but we'll click on details and see what it generates this time for us. It tells us when it's finished. The other thing you can also do with a slide deck is actually going to slide deck is create summary story rise to power and retell it as a graphic novel. And you can give it a style. Do it in the manga style of art. So give it a bit of context or style. You can pick generic things like a Marvel style, DC style. And if you go style, you could do it in line print or Aboriginal style. I created a poster that was done in the style of the Bayou Tapestry and it looks really good. So we'll leave the detailed and we'll do it as default. And what they'll do, we'll actually go through and generate infographic. We've got a slide deck going. They're all going at the same time. So the advantages of Notebook LM is you can do lots of things at once, and it does the graphics very well for you. Like I said, you can do that in other AI platforms. You just open up more than one point. Okay, it's told me infographic presentation has failed. Try again. Maybe because I started a new one. Reset that again. Maybe a lot less detail for that. Okay, I'm going to stop here. Why these are generating. I've had a couple of goes at attempting to make this slide deck. I keep getting errors. So I'm going to ask it to create a summary slide deck of 4 slides to introduce the topic and see if it can actually generate that for me. Length short. So I keep getting errors. Whether it's just too much content, I do not know. But here we go. Error, try again, error, try again, error, error. Oh, that was the infographic one, but it did work in the end. The video finally did work after quite a while. I've actually been offline for quite a while to actually do that. And the audio podcast or the audio overview has worked as well, which isn't too bad. So I'll go back and redo this slide deck. Why it's causing errors, there's no feedback. It simply says slide deck generation has failed. Try a new one. So we're trying that at the moment. So I'll stop here and see what happens. This time it's the third go of trying to make a slide deck. Yeah, we're back again. I've had a long break. Okay, I've tried to make a slide deck generation and it's failed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. I have no idea why this has happened. I've even restarted a notebook. I've restarted my machine. So it's definitely a problem at Google's end. Definitely a problem at Google's end. Never had this in any other AI platform. Normally after a short period of time, it'll actually fix itself. But obviously this is almost an hour ago since I tried the first one. And I'm not going to stuff around with it anymore. In terms of outputs, we've got our audio output.
Well, the structure completely. It breaks down the essay depth.
So this is your pretty standard audio recording. And this one here, we've got a video.
So how does a democracy?
This is the video overview function.
It's almost, we're going to walk through this old view of its leader and the core beliefs. The whole ideology was dangerous ones and turn them into a real physical movement. Just a fringe party.
So what we've got here, when I think of a video overview, I thought it would actually make AI and actually animate it. Essentially what it's done is created a PowerPoint slide with a voiceover, which is fine, which gives visuals, some information, and also explanation as well.
Justice was thrown out the window, and this system only served the Nazi state, which is why the number of crimes punishable by death on the night of the long knives. And then when President Hindenburg died, you're about to see.
So what it's done is actually, when I think of AI, I think it's actually was going to, when it said video, it was actually going to make a video for me there was be animated or some description. But in this case, there's a whole lot of
Fun.
nicely styled PowerPoint slides, basically, or slide deck slides with a voiceover.
Believably picture was used today.
Looks pretty, but it's not really what I want when I think of a video overview. Okay, so I couldn't make my slide deck. What I will show is one of the things I have been making. So this is, I've been playing with, this is Australia Under Attack. And I looked at this particular one here. Let's have a look at it. And this is, whoops, zoom right in there, hasn't it? This was looking at creating the story and retelling as a graphic novel. I think this is a really good tool. And I find going through the language is actually pretty good. Everything's spelled correctly on this page. In this case, it's given me a graphic novel that's 8 pages long. It seems to default to 8 pages. You can make it do shorter ones. So this is aimed at students, I thought, who understand with a graphic novel. And I was playing with the ideas here. They could fill in the blanks here and do the story. Once again, the visuals don't actually match. So you really have to spend a lot more time being explicit or what needs to be done. The spelling is quite good on this one. I have done ones where the spelling is really bad. This is done in a Marvel style, going through a story, blanks, then fill it out, and so on. So going through that, it's fairly good, and it gives a summary there at the end to declassify. I thought I could do a bit better than that, so then I looked at, I think this one here. This one here I thought was more entertaining. I asked it to do in a series of newspaper articles sort of style. So once again, the styling here is Australia. What's Australia? We've got American sort of stylish styles there. And this is a whole series of newspaper articles. And I thought this was a good format to share. So you can get to do that particular style. The watermark in the corner there, you could pretty much remove in something like Canva or some other app. So it gives the pictures, gives the graphics, bit of a story. And I thought this was quite good in trying to create engaging resources. Now, the issue with this, it's a bit longer. Papua New Guinea, and it does this very well, and the stories are fairly good. In this case, it's 14 slides long. And I thought that would be really engaging, really interesting, as I've already said. Printing it out would be a lot of paper, so this is really, you want to be in a digital type classroom for that. Once again, this doesn't have any spaces, but like I said, you could design it without the text in there or go remove it afterwards in Canva if you want to do a bit more editing. So you could do this page and take the text away at the bottom here in Canva and leave a white box for them to actually fill in. So an activity like that would be quite good. I've done a few of those, but like I said, let's have a look back at the other ones. I've been playing with a few different ones. And if we go back here, here's another one here. We've got Assassination of Ferdinand. Once again, I was playing with different ideas and stories in different styles that you could put it through. I think there's some spelling mistakes and things like that in this one. I found it interesting if I get the slide and I actually run it through ChatGPT. It's fairly good. In terms of infographics, it can do a really good job. I think this is a really cool infographic. This is the infographic feature with the information I put in. So I think this is visually pretty cool. And it all seems the correct spelling and everything. So that one you could use or put in and edit it a little bit further. So it does produce some really good resources. At the same time, other times it just doesn't work at all. So in terms of that, I'm going to leave it there. Is Notebook LM a good tool? Yes. Can you do a lot very quickly with it? Yes. You've got these nice push buttons up the top here. You can customize a little bit when you go in. But at the same time, like I said, slide deck doesn't want to work. I find the information it gives in the chat window isn't as good as what I get in ChatGPT. And I find that most history-related areas. I know different platforms have different strengths, but by providing all the resources, it's fairly good. I do the layout of Notebook LM. We've got the resources on the left-hand side, the information, and then the options on the right. I think that's much better, and the other platforms could really learn from that. But like I said, this is a tool that has been designing. The other drawback is for classrooms that you're tied to a Google account if you're using these resources with your students, which may not be with or within school policies. So I like to make someone a bit more generic. They can access it from anywhere. You could probably modify and change these resources and move them into, say, a Microsoft platform as well if you wanted to, or just use Copilot to do that. So I hope you found this useful. I'm going to have to edit this a lot because there's a lot of very large sections on there. Like I said, with these errors, it's taken me a very long time and I can do it much faster on other platforms. When the infographics work really well, they work really well. And when the slide deck works, yeah, it's not too bad. It's very visual appealing. Sorry, I had to pause there for a minute. The Air Force was doing some of their trainers were flying overhead and it was a little bit noisy. Like I said, would I recommend a notebook LN? Yes, definitely have a play with it. Takes a bit of getting used to, like all platforms. It does its peculiarities. Like I said, the one-touch buttons are really good and they're easy to really get into, and especially with making graphics if you don't know the prompts. So definitely go with it. So till next episode, keep up the good work. And if you want to come join me, let me know.